All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about the Bills-Dolphins game from yesterday. But I did want to bring up a couple of things. Well, at least just one thing. As of this morning, the Saints have fired head coach Dennis Allen. We'll talk about the game tomorrow, but the Saints did end up losing to the Panthers. And the Saints were 2-0. And they had a plus 62 point differential after the first 2 weeks of the season. And since then, it's just been a downward spiral. They're now 2-7 on the season, and it was time. It was definitely time. And it's the Saints are in such a weird spot right now, and they've kind of been in like no man's land, I guess that's accurate to say, for a little bit now since Drew Brees retired. They've been trying to compete, but they haven't made the playoffs since he retired. And Sean Payton then leaving, it's just the Saints are not looking good right now, and I don't really know what they're gonna do. We'll talk about them tomorrow and the game, but it's just. They were 2-0, and I was like, oh, maybe the Saints, they finished the season strong, last year. I guess maybe that's carrying over into this season, but that was too soon to say, because then they ended up losing their next 7 games. So, after scoring 40 points their first 2 weeks. But yeah, that's I just wanted to bring that up. So Dennis Allen has been relieved of his duties as the head coach of the Saints after their most recent loss to the Carolina Panthers. But let's get into the game that I wanted to discuss in this segment, and that's the Bills-Dolphins game. So, Dolphins coming in at 2-5. This was Tua's second game back from injury, and look, the Dolphins, they look like a different team offensively with him being back, and it just unfortunately for them, it just did not go their way. It did not go their way. Sorry, I got some things mixed up there because I thought but that was the final part of the show. I had a graphic up. But anyways, so the Dolphins, they look like a different team with him offensively. They're moving the ball, and it just didn't matter. He finished with 230 yards passing, 231 yards passing. Last week was 234. This week was 231. He had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And they ran the ball decent, 149 yards on the ground, and a touchdown by Achane. Tyreek Hill had 80 yards receiving, but Josh Allen and that Buffalo Bills offense was just too much. And the Dolphins had an opportunity to win. This game could have went to overtime, but they ended up the Bills ended up making a 61-yard field goal by Tyler Bass, and they lose 30-27. Both teams exchanged punts to start off the game. Then the Bills, they put together a drive that led to a 40-yard field goal by Tyler Bass. Then the Dolphins responded with a field goal of their own, a 39-yarder by Jason Sanders. And then there was an interception by Josh Allen, another pick. He was trying to hit Keon Coleman, got picked off by Jalen Ramsey. And they were driving. This is at the Dolphins' 11-yard line. And he ends up getting picked off. Then Tua and the Dolphins, they put together a nice drive, 14 plays, 97 yards, almost 8.5 minutes of time possession down the field, and Tua connected with Devon Achane for a 14-yard touchdown, so that made it 10-3. And then the Bills, before the end of the half, Tyler Bass kicks a 49-yard field goal, so it's 10-6 at the half. Then the Dolphins end up fumbling. Raheem Mostert fumbles. The Bills turn that into a touchdown. Josh Allen connects with Matt Collins for a 1-yard touchdown. That was on 4th and goal. And Bass ended up missing the PAT, so it was 12-10. Dolphins then respond with a field goal. Jason Sanders from 23 yards out, so that made it 13-12. And then the Bills, they responded with another touchdown drive. They went 2 plays, 70 yards. Josh Allen connected with Ray Davis, the other running back, for a 63-yard touchdown, and that made it 20-13. Dolphins tied the game. They went for it on 4th down. They got it to a scrambled for 4 yards, ended up getting it, and you want to look away when he takes off with the ball, but he ended up picking up the first down, and then Achane scored from 8 yards out to make it 20-20. Bills then put together another touchdown drive. So this game was back and forth in the second half. And then Josh Allen connected with Morris for a 2-yard touchdown, and that made it 27-20. Dolphins then responded again, Tua connecting with Jalen Waddle for a 7-yard touchdown. And then the Bills go 9 plays, 27 yards. They get to the Dolphins 43, and Tyler Bass makes a 61-yard field goal. And he had to feel pretty good because you remember from last year in the divisional round, he missed the potential game-tying field goal against the Chiefs. And it was a long offseason for him. But, just to at least make this kick in a big moment, that had to feel pretty good. And it was a 61-yarder. I mean, I know kickers make it like it's nothing now, but still, I mean, that's not an easy kick to make. And he ended up making it. And the Dolphins, they try the lateral game. So they lateral it to Tua connects with Achane, throws it to Achane. Then he laterals it to Waddle, and Waddle loses 23 yards on the play. He ends up getting tackled, and that's how the game ends. And the Dolphins are now 2-6. The Bills are now 7-2. And it's unfortunate for the Dolphins because offensively, they have looked better. I keep saying it. They have looked better. The problem is they lost both games. You lose last week, you had a 10-point lead. You blow that, you lose by a point. And then this week, your offense goes back and forth with the Bills, and you end up losing on a 61-yard field goal. And you're 2-6 now. You're in third place in your division. And, towards the end of the year, you got some tough games coming up on the schedule. It's just, the Dolphins look like they're going nowhere this year. And I'm curious to see what ends up happening from this. Are there going to be any massive changes? I mean, you can't really blame Tua. I mean, I think Tua's been fine. But I think I did bring this up, though, last week. So, I mean, we'll see, if they make any kind of drastic changes. But, yeah, they're 2-6. And this division is pretty much over, this race. The Bills are running away with this thing. They got one of the best records in the NFL right now. They're at 7-2. We'll see what happens tonight if the Chiefs maybe lose to the Buccaneers. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. But right now they're the 2 seed, and it's probably where they're going to stay unless the Ravens overtake them, because the Ravens did beat them earlier this year. But the Bills are good at home. Their only 2 losses are on the road. And next week they take on the Colts, and then, we get to the tough part of their schedule. Because after the Colts game, you got the Chiefs, then out of the bye, you got the Niners, the Rams, and the Lions in Detroit. And that's a 4:25 game. So, we'll see what the Bills are made of here. But, we saw them play against the Texans and against the Ravens, and they lost both of those games. Now, the Texans game was more competitive. Now, the Texans, they don't really seem as good as their record shows. Partly because of injuries. And the Ravens just, other than the Chiefs, the Ravens beat everybody. And the Raiders. The Ravens beat everybody. And I forgot the game that I was at. They lost to the Browns. But that was a trap game. So the Bills are going to make the playoffs. They're going to win this division. They're going to host a playoff game. And if they're, the 2 seed, they'll host a couple of playoff games. But, offense is doing well. Josh Allen, 3 more touchdown passes. Did throw a pick, but he's got 17 touchdowns and 2 picks. It's pretty good. And, threw for 235 yards. James Cook, only 44 yards on the ground as their leading rusher. And Ray Davis actually turned out to be their leading receiver. That 63-yard touchdown reception, was pretty much all of his receiving yards. Khalil Shakir had 6 for 50. Dalton Kincaid, 4 for 32. Matt Collins, 5 for 30 and a touchdown. James Cook, 5 for 25. And the Bills, they only got to Tua once. So Tua, did not really get sacked in this game. Only one time. And same thing for the Dolphins defense. Only 1 sack of Josh Allen. But yeah, Dolphins are 2-6. Just doesn't seem like this season's going anywhere, even with Tua being back. And again, it's unfortunate because these games definitely could have been won. And, you win those two and you're at sorry, I just hit my cup. My Giants cup, actually. That I had because I needed to have some water with me. But we'll get to that game tomorrow, possibly. You win those two games, you're 4-4, and now it's like, okay, let's make a run here. But 2-6, it's hard to come out of that. And like I said, they do have tough games remaining on their schedule. So the Dolphins look like their season is unfortunately over. I mean, it's not technically, but these last 2 weeks they lost in heartbreaking fashion. And especially the loss yesterday. So I don't know really know where they go from here. I mean, they're still going to win football games. I mean, this team is not going to just finish with 2 wins. They will win games, but it's not going to be enough. They really I said this, I think at some point maybe it's going to be a reverse where they start off slow and then they finish strong. It's possible. But it's just, 2-6 at this point, and you look at the teams you got to jump over, and the division is just all but out of the question. Now you're just hoping that you get a few breaks and maybe you find yourself back in the wild card. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But let me know what you guys think about this game. What were your takeaways from it? Again, Tua did not play bad, but it just wasn't enough. And the Dolphins, like I said, they end up losing a tough one. Bills, they keep rolling. But I want to see what they're made of when we get to that part of their schedule. After the Colts game, the Colts is not going to be an easy game. They lost last night to the Vikings, but, Joe Flacco, Joe Flacco was not great last night either, but, the Colts are a different team with Flacco, and I think that being a home game for the Colts, that's gonna be a tough game for the Bills. So this stretch of games coming up between now and after the bye, it's going to show me what the Bills really are. And we saw earlier in the season when the Ravens smacked them around, how they played against them. But let's see how they are. Let's see if they can redeem themselves. Let's see what they could do against this better competition here. And even against a divisional opponent, it was tough, but they came away with the win. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this game. What were your takeaways from it? So when we come back, we'll talk about the Cowboys dropping to 3-5 after their most recent loss to the Falcons. So make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.